But beware, some forces here aren't kind. Her warning chilled me. The vision's anguished faces flashing again, a puzzle snapping into place. What forces? I demanded, my voice rising, fear sharpening my words as the mist tightened. Around us. Julia's face darkened, a shadow crossing her eyes, and I felt it, a deeper dread, a sense that the forest hid more than lost souls, something hungry lurking beneath. Those who'd use the well, she said, her voice low, urgent. They crave its power and they'll use you to get it. I came to warn you, Mateo. Her words sank like stones, and I thought of those faces, trapped, desperate, caught in a game I hadn't signed up for. Footsteps crunched behind us, sharp against the leaves, and my heart lurched, adrenaline surging. I turned, the mist parting, to reveal Marco, historian, once friend, his eyes glinting with something dark, unsettling. "Julia," he said, smooth and low, "you've found Mateo. Quite the predicament he's in." "Stay back, Marco," Julia snapped, her voice steady but edged with fear, stepping between us. "You don't know what you're meddling with." Her defiance sparked something in me, a flicker of trust, but Marco's smile twisted, cold, and knowing. "Oh, I know exactly what I want," he said, his gaze locking on me. "And Mateo's the key." His words dripped with intent, and the whispers flared, a tempest swirling around us, their despair a weight I couldn't shake, pinning me between them. "What's that mean?" I demanded, panic clawing my throat, my eyes darting from Marco to Julia. The forest pulsed, alive with their tension, and I felt it, their conflicting pulls. A battle I was caught in, my role a mystery I hadn't asked for. "The well's power," Marco said, stepping closer, his voice silky with promise. "With you, we can unlock it. Answers, control, everything we've chased. Trust me, Mateo." His offer hung there, tempting, but Julia's warning echoed louder, a shield against his lure. "Choose wisely," Julia urged, her eyes pleading, cutting through the noise. "Your call decides their fate and yours." Her voice trembled, but her resolve held, a lifeline in the dark, and I felt the forest hold its breath, waiting for me to move. Marco's smile widened, a predator's grin, and the tension snapped, electric and thick. "You're more than you know," he said, circling me. "Your blood's tied to this land, your mother's line, guardians of the well. She hid it, but I found it." His revelation slammed into me, a truth I couldn't dodge. My chest tightened, memories of my mother, silent, gone, flooding back. "What?" I gasped, my voice breaking, the ground shifting beneath me. "She never said, she left me." The whisper surged, a chorus of my past, and I staggered, caught between shock and a dawning hope. "She feared this," Marco said, his eyes gleaming. "She ran to shield you, from power, from truth. But you're here now, and the well calls. Embrace it or lose it." His words twisted, a lure and a threat, and I felt the weight of my heritage pressing down, heavy and real. Julia grabbed my arm, her voice fierce. "Don't listen, he'll use you. Twist your past for his gain. You're not his tool." Her fire steadied me, a counter to Marco's pull, and I saw it, her fear, her faith. A line drawn in the dirt between them. "Why? Me?" I murmured, my voice low, the question echoing through the trees. The spirit's cries swelled, a plea I couldn't ignore, and I realized this wasn't just their fight. It was mine, a legacy I had to claim or cast off. The air buzzed, the forest alive with my indecision, and I stood there torn. Marco's promise of answers, Julia's call to resist. Night deepened, the mist a shroud, and I knew my choice would ripple beyond this clearing, a storm I couldn't outrun. Marco's words clung to me, a suffocating weight, and I felt the chasm yawn beneath my feet, past and present crashing, together. "This isn't about power," I snapped, fists clenched, defiance rising. "You don't get what you're stirring up." My voice shook, but it held, a spark against his shadow. "It's everything," he shot back, his eyes wild, circling tighter. "Control, history, you're the keyhole, Mateo. Step up or the spirits take you." His hunger bled through, a man unhinged, and I saw it. His need, not mine, driving this nightmare. Julia stepped forward, her voice cutting sharp. He's lying. Your mother wanted you free. This isn't your burden unless you take it. Her words lit a fire in me, a shield against Marco's storm, and I met her gaze, finding strength in her stand. What if she left me a role? I asked, my voice trembling, doubt and hope tangling. What if I meant to do this? The trees swayed, their whispers a pulse syncing with mine, and I felt it, a tie to this land deeper than I'd known. You're not a guardian, you're mine. It was a gray afternoon in the Parco della Madoni when I trudged along a winding trail, my boots sinking into the damp earth, a tingling unease prickling my skin like static. I'm Matteo Rossi, 41, a forest ranger who's weathered the storms. Of these Sicilian mountains near Petralia Sottana for years, the pines and winds my only steady companions. But as the clouds thickened overhead, the rain began. Not the usual wild downpour I'd braced for, but a slow, deliberate fall, each droplet hanging in the air like a crystal, caught in time, shimmering before it hit the ground. When those drops finally kissed the earth, a chorus of whispers rose, soft, insistent, a weave of pleas and laments that rippled through the ancient trees. My breath caught, the sound wrapping around me like a shroud, voices speaking in old Italian and dialects I barely grasped, their stories echoing through the forest. The air turned heavy, charged with something I couldn't name, and I stood, frozen, my senses straining against the weight of it all. This rugged land's been my life, 41 years of solitude. The storm's a rhythm I've learned to dance with. But lately, something's shifted. The rain's taken on a strange life, almost sentient, carrying whispers that the locals dodge with wary glances, their tales of spirits no longer just bedtime stories. I've felt it too, a pull in my chest, like the droplets themselves are, calling me deeper into the woods. The trail stretched ahead, familiar yet foreign under that eerie rain, and I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes on me. The trees leaned closer, their gnarled branches clawing the sky like skeletal hands, and memories crept in. My father's voice, low and grave, warning of forest spirits I'd laughed off as a kid. Now, with the whispers threading through the silence, doubt gnawed at me, my solitude a burden heavier than ever. I paused, my chest heaving, and the rain stopped abrupt, leaving a thick mist that clung to the ground like a living thing. My heart kicked up, a voice cutting through. Matteo. Soft, melodic, urgent, sending ice down my spine. I spun, my flashlight slashing the fog, but nothing, just the trees, the mist, and that call I shouldn't answer but couldn't resist. The whispers swelled, a tide pulling me forward, and I stumbled into a clearing untouched by time, the air thick with their pleas. There in the center stood an ancient stone well, vines choking its edges, its depths a black void swallowing the light. The voices converged here, a cacophony drilling into my skull, and I felt it, their need, their desperation, pinning me to the spot. My hand shook as I edged closer, peering into the well's abyss, and a vision slammed into me, souls trapped in limbo, their faces twisted in anguish, reaching for freedom or company. The rain wasn't just rain. It was their conduit, their cries spilling out, and I realized they wanted me, but for what? Savior or prisoner? The line blurred, and fear coiled tight in my gut. The mist thickened, a ghostly embrace, and I stepped back, my pulse a drumbeat. In my ears, the forest, my sanctuary, loomed now like a specter, its secrets pressing in. And I knew this fight with the rain, with the voices, was only starting, a battle I couldn't walk away from. Night fell sharp, the sun sinking behind. The peaks and the air shifted, a chill sinking into my bones. The whispers turned frantic, weaving with the forest's hum, and I felt it. The woods turning, a living thing intent on dragging me into its depths, its truths too heavy to ignore. A figure slipped from the mist, her black hair cascading like ink, her eyes piercing the dark, familiar, ethereal, a piece of the forest itself. "Matteo," she said, her voice cutting through, steady but urgent. "You can't run from this. You're meant to be here." My breath hitched, awe and dread tangling as I faced her. "Who are you?" I rasped, my voice rough, the surreal weight of her presence pinning me. "What do you want?" My hand gripped my pack, knuckles white, the whispers pulsing louder, a chorus tying me to this moment, this stranger who knew my name. "I'm Julia," she said, stepping closer, her gaze unwavering. "I've watched you. I know the rain, the forest's call." "You've got a gift, Matteo, a tie to the spirits trapped here." Her words hit like a storm, shattering my quiet ranger's life, and I staggered under their weight, a truth I couldn't grasp. "A gift?" I echoed, my voice shaking, disbelief warring with the pull I'd felt. "I'm just a ranger. What spirits?" My mind raced, flashes of my father's tales flickering, but Julia's intensity held me, her urgency a thread pulling me deeper into the unknown. "The well's a portal," she said, her voice dropping, eyes flicking to its dark mouth. "It links the living and the dead. The rain carries their cries. They need release, and you're their anchor." Marco roared, lunging, his voice cracking with rage. His words hit like a blow, but I dodged, the air shifting as the forest hummed. Alive with my defiance, urging me to fight. The ground quaked, a surge rising in me, and I faced him, resolve, hardening. "I'm not your pawn," I shouted, the spirit's voices weaving with mine, a power I hadn't sought but couldn't deny. The trees bent, vines twisting, answering my call. Light flared from my hands, raw and wild, slamming into Marco, knocking him back into the brush. The forest roared, a living force at my side, and I stood, chest heaving, the whispers a chorus of strength, not despair, lifting me up. Pain stabbed my shoulder, a price for the fight, and I stumbled. Julia catching me, her voice tight. "Matteo, you're hurt." Her hands shook, but relief flickered in her eyes, a fragile hope amid the chaos we'd stirred. Marco groaned, sprawled in the dirt, his voice a rasp. "This isn't over, you'll see." His eyes burned, madness and fear tangled, and I knew he'd lost this round, but the war stretched ahead, a shadow I couldn't shake. "We've got to go," Julia said, her grip firm, pulling me back. The spirits, they're unsettled, and Marco's woken something. Her words sank in, the forest buzzing with a tension that hadn't eased. A warning of more to come. I nodded, exhaustion crashing over me, my shoulder throbbing as I glanced back. Marco faded into the mist, a promise lingering in his wake, and I felt it. The fight wasn't done, the spirits still restless, their voices a thread pulling me deeper. "Let's move," I said, my voice low, steadying against the pain. The well loomed behind us, its dark mouth a silent witness, and I knew this victory was fleeting, a step into a storm, still brewing. The forest watched, its whispers softening but not gone, and I felt them, eyes in the dark, a presence biting. "It's time." "We'll face it," I murmured, Julia at my side, our path stretching into the unknown, a battle tied to my blood. The mist curled, the night swallowing us, and a breeze carried a whisper. "Matteo." Faint, chilling, a call I couldn't ignore. The fight for the spirits, for my past, was just beginning, and I braced myself for what lay ahead. We pressed deeper into the woods, the confrontation's weight, a shadow trailing us. Julia's hand a lifeline in the dark. "What if he's right?" I whispered, my voice trembling, glancing back where Marco had vanished. "What if I can't stop this?" "He's not," she said, her voice firm, her pulse steady against mine. "You chose, you fought, but we're not done." Her resolve steadied me, a light against the dread coiling tight, and I clung to it, a ranger lost in his own woods. The trees loomed, their whispers a hum now, restless but alive, and I felt it, a shift, a deeper force stirring. "Something's awake," I said, my voice low. the pain in my shoulder a tether to the fight, a reminder of the cost. Julia nodded, her eyes scanning the dark. Marco stirred it, something older than us. We've got to learn what? Her words sank heavy, a call to dig into my past, my mother's secrets, a legacy I couldn't outrun. A shadow flickered ahead, quick and gone, and my heart lurched, my flashlight slashing the mist. Nothing. Just leaves, rustling, but a laugh. Echoed cold and distant, icing my blood. A promise of more, a threat lurking beyond. "We'll be ready," I said, my voice steadying, pulling Julia closer. The forest pulsed, its spirits a current in the air, their intentions veiled, and I knew. Marco wasn't the end, just a spark to a fire still burning. The path twisted, deeper into the Madoni's heart, and I felt the weight. Their eyes, their whispers, their need. "We'll figure it out," Julia murmured, her voice a vow. And I nodded, resolve locking in against the unknown. Night deepened, the mist a shroud, and that whisper, Matteo, faded, a thread pulling me forward. The spirits, my past, the forest, they were one. A battle I'd face, a truth I'd claim. The air grew still, the trees silent witnesses, and I knew this was just the start. A war tied to my soul, my blood. Marco's threat lingered, a shadow stretching beyond this night, and I braced for it step by step. Here's my story, the one I sent in. Everything that went down that gray day in the Madoni. Hope it hit you like it hit me, heavy with those whispers and shadows. If it did, leave a like, subscribe if you can, comment something. Telling this ripped me open, dragging up a past I'd buried deep. What if the forest I'd sworn to protect was alive, watching me, waiting for something I couldn't name? That question never crossed my mind until one night, under a full moon's piercing glow, I walked the twisting trails of Isimangaliso, Wetland Park. The air buzzed with a tension I couldn't shake, and the trees stood too still, their branches curling like they were whispering secrets just beyond my reach. I felt their stare, heavy and cold, prickling my skin. I'm Sifon Kosi, 35, a ranger who spent years guarding this wild stretch near St. Lucia, South Africa. These paths are my life, watching over the animals, piecing together the tales. Buried in the dirt, my gran used to spin stories by the fire about spirits in the woods, old as time itself. I'd smiled at her words, but now they felt too close, too real. Weeks back, something shifted. The trees started moving, slight twists, bends when no wind stirred, almost alive. Then came the tracks, glowing under the moon, vanishing when my flashlight hit them, teasing me deeper into the dark. They weren't animal prints, they shimmered, alive, pulling me in. The wildlife felt it too. Frogs and crickets went quiet, their songs snuffed out. Animals hid, eyes wide with terror, peering from the bushes. The ground pulsed under my boots, a rhythm I couldn't pin down, sinking with the knot in my chest. The forest wasn't just there, it was awake, restless. It hit personal too. My brother died out here in a storm years ago, and I've carried that guilt ever since. Nature as both home and killer. I'd vowed to shield this place, but now it turned on me, whispering my failures, making me feel like an outsider in my own turf. When the moon peaked, dread thickened the air. Something circled me, unseen, its pulse throbbing through the night. The glowing tracks closed in, ringing me under the trees' watchful gaze. I wasn't just a ranger anymore. I was caught in something bigger, torn between belonging and being, hunted. Night crashed down, and the air grew heavy, shadows twisting wild. The tracks pulsed like a heartbeat, and a hum rose, old, raw, shaking me. I wanted to bolt, but my legs locked, fear and wonder pinning me there. A figure stepped from the dark, a woman, hair tangled, eyes glinting feral in the moonlight. She moved like she belonged to the woods, vines brushing her like kin. "You don't belong here," she said, voice soft as rustling leaves. "Who are you?" I choked out, barely audible. "Thandi," she answered, pushing a vine aside. "The forest called you. You feel it. Its beat? It knows you." "Called me?" I said, cold creeping up my spine. "I'm a ranger, that's all." "You're more, Saipho," she said, eyes sharp. "It remembers your brother, your pain. You're picked to see the truth." Her words cut deep, dragging up my brother's death, the hole it left. "Pick for what?" I snapped, reeling. "I don't get it." A growl rumbled through the trees, low and mean. A lioness stalked out, eyes like fire locking on me. She wasn't just any beast. She felt like the forest's soul, testing me. "Stay still," Thandi said, calm but firm. "She's guarding you, but you've got to prove you're worth it." "Prove myself?" Panic clawed at me, but something clicked, a tie to her, to this place. I gripped my flashlight, aiming it at her, feeling not just fear, but a strange pull. "What'd she want?" I whispered, glancing at Thandi. "To see if you'll face your past, the dark here," she said, staring hard. "Your journey's starting. Saipho, face it or stay trapped." The ground shook, a rumble rolling deep, trees swaying, tracks flickering. Into the thicket. And I wanted to run, but I couldn't. "You coming?" Thandi asked, daring me. I nodded, heart pounding. "I'll go," and stepped into the dark, the forest breathing around me, pulling me in with Thandi and the lioness at my side. The air sparked as we pushed deeper, shadows weaving through the trees, tracks pulsing ahead. Every step felt heavier, the forest alive, whispering things I couldn't catch, tugging at my edges. The earth jolted, knocking me against a tree. Thandi spun, worry flashing. "Stay close, Saipho, we're not alone." Growls burst from the dark, freezing me. My brother's old tales of spirits flooded back, guardians, demons, all real now, wrapping tight around me. A figure slipped out, my brother or something wearing his face. Eyes glowing, smile twisted wrong. "Saipho," he said, voice too familiar. "You're here? I've waited." "No," I stammered, stumbling back. "You're not real." "Dead." "Yeah," he laughed, cruel. "But here, you've dodged me, but not the truth." "What truth?" I barked, anger flaring. "You're in my head." "Am I?" he said, closing in. "You buried me, but I'm this forest now. The dark you fights inside you." Thandi's eyes widened. "Saipho, it's your guilt, not him. Don't listen." His words sank in, cold and sharp. "Had I twisted him into this?" The lioness growled, nudging me, her strength pushing me to break free. Shadows flickered, him laughing, then gone. The storm that took him replaying. I gasped, the weight crashing down. "Face it," he taunted, flickering. "Only then you're out." It hit. My guilt, my choices, the forest mirroring it all. "Thandi!" I yelled, panic spiking. "What now?" "Embrace it," she shouted. "Face him to move on." "No running," I said, firm, stepping toward him, the forest shaking, stakes rising high. I sucked in air, his shadow looming heavy, as death. Every step was a fight, Thandi and the lioness steady behind me. This wasn't just him, it was me, clawing back what I'd lost. "Why'd you leave?" I yelled, voice breaking. "I failed you." "Failed," he sneered, shadows swirling. "You couldn't stop it, a kid." "It's your guilt, Saipho. Accept it." The ground quaked. Trees leaning in, watching. Thandi's gaze held me, now or never. "I'm not fighting a ghost," I shouted, anger surging. "I want the truth." "Truth?" He laughed, dark and loud. "It's your weakness. You can't fix it." "No," I fired back, resolve hardening. "I can learn," the lioness growled, stepping up, her power pushing me. I met his eyes, not just him, but my fear staring back. "You're dark. Doesn't own me," I said steady. "You're my past, not my future. I'm done grieving." Thandi moved close. "Use your light, Saipho. It's in you." I shut my eyes, pulling up warmth. His laugh, our joy, letting it flare against the dark. Let go. I yelled, hands out. "I free you!" Shadows roared, fighting, his form flickering as my light hit. The forest shook, air snapping tight. Everything hung there, my pain, my future, teetering on what I'd choose, the forest waiting. Light blasted out, shadows reeling, his face shifting, anger, then peace. He wavered, fading soft. Let go, I said, again, calm. Find peace. A roar, and the dark spiraled off, the ground settling, his last whisper, thank you, fading as he went. I dropped breathless, clarity hitting hard, scars still. Raw, I'd faced him, but he lingered. A quiet ghost. You did it, Thandi said, soft, pulling me back. You freed you both. It's not gone, I whispered, woods alive around me. I feel him. The lioness watched. Scars stay, she seemed to say, but you've got light now. A glint caught my eye, his pendant, buried in leaves, pulsing faint. I grabbed it, heart racing. What's this? I murmured, fingers brushing it. Thandi nudged me. A clue, Sifo. His story's not done. I looked back, no him, just quiet. A pull to dig deeper. More to find, I said, resolve flaring. Questions left. Let's go, I told Thandi, the pendant warm in my hand, the forest whispering on. The pendant pulsed, a tether to him. As we pushed deeper, the air thick with earth and secrets. His laugh echoed faint, doubt creeping. Was he free, or had I stirred worse? Shadows loomed, eyes unseen, watching, waiting. I wanted to turn back, but something pulled me on. What if answers hid ahead? A figure flickered, him or something else. Gone. Fast, Sifo, Thandi warned. Choose careful. I stood torn, follow it or dive deeper, each heavy, the pendant a weight of hope and fear, the forest alive with both. What if the ground beneath your feet began to unfold secrets that should never be revealed? That question clung to me like the mist draping the Retezat Mountains that morning, cold and heavy. I'm Soren Popescu, a forest ranger in Romania's Wild Heart, and this is my story, Scary Horror Stories, Cryptid Creature Encounters Edition. I'd roamed these woods for years, their rhythms my pulse, but today the paths twisted, the air thick with a tension that prickled my neck. The fog thickened as I walked, congealing into shapes beyond reason, visions flickering just out of grasp. I squinted, tracing maps etched in the dirt. A city of spiraling spires, rivers flowing skyward, defying nature's laws. Stones shivered, rolling into unnatural lines. A path beckoning me deeper. My gut screamed retreat, but curiosity whispered, seductive and insistent, pulling me toward the unknown. I knew these woods, every ridge, every breeze, but now they warped, unfamiliar. In Hatzig, locals murmured of gates to other worlds, portals veiled in the forest's core, tales I dismissed as shepherds' fancies. Today, the mist coiled like a serpent, guiding me or luring me to a truth I wasn't ready for. My boots sank into damp earth, each step heavier with doubt. My past shadowed me. Once a cartographer, I'd mapped this land with precision, finding purpose in its lines. Elena's loss reshaped me, her death a labyrinth of grief I couldn't chart. These woods were my refuge from that pain, a shield against loneliness. But what if this mist wasn't just weather? What if it bridged my past to this eerie now? The stones jolted, aligning into a pulsing path. My heart raced, fog wrapping me like a shroud. What did it want to reveal? A melody drifted dissonant and otherworldly, freezing my breath. Was it a call or a trap? I wavered, resolve cracking. The mist felt alive, demanding I follow, a force I couldn't resist. It bled into my memories, twisting them. Elena's laugh morphed into that haunting tune. The familiar trees faded, swallowed by fog, leaving me stranded between worlds. I faced a choice, follow the stones or flee to my quiet life. My hand gripped my pack, knuckles white, torn between fear and the pull of the abyss. The air pulsed, insistent. I felt it, a dangerous spark igniting within. The mist wasn't random. It was a guide, and I was its reluctant quarry. Night loomed, and then it shifted. Something inexplicable unfurled, dragging me from ranger to prey, into a mystery. I couldn't unsee. Twilight fell, mist weaving shadows and whispers. I froze, caught between the path and retreat. A presence loomed, a figure stepping from the fog, tall and ghostly. "Soren," it called, voice achingly familiar. I turned, breath snagging. Mihai, my old ranger friend, stood there, eyes clouded with urgency, not their usual mischief. "Mihai," I rasped, "what are you doing here?" My mind raced. Rescue or shared doom? As the ground trembled beneath us, "I followed you," he said, glancing at the shifting earth. "The tales are real, Soren. Portals, buried secrets. It's all true. We need to go. Now." The path glowed, pulling me. "What if it's more?" I countered. "Something big? Something we could uncover?" The lure was intoxicating, a balm to my restless soul. His face tightened. "And if it breaks us? Some things aren't meant to be seen." His pragmatism clashed with my hunger, a rift widening in the fog. That melody swelled, a siren's thread, I whispered. "There's a reason we're here. We can't just walk away." Hope flickered, fragile, but fierce. Mihai's frustration flared. "You're reckless. The mist takes what it wants. We're not safe." His voice shook, fear seeping through his steel. The ground quaked, a fissure split, revealing a vortex of colors and sound. Instinct screamed flee, but its pull drowned me. I reached for Mihai as he fell. "Help!" he yelled. I lunged, foggy, blinding me, my heart echoing Elena's loss, fear choking my resolve. Shadows danced from the mist, faces of the lost, hands grasping, souls snared by this place. My spine iced. They were real, trapped, reaching for us. "Mihai," I shouted, "we've got to move." The shadows surged, my past pressing in, Elena's ghost among them, a weight I couldn't shed. His eyes blazed. "We can't let it take us. Choose, Soren!" It wasn't just escape. It was facing the truths binding us here. The mist roared. I met his gaze, heart pounding. "Together?" I asked, seeking his strength. "Together," he vowed. And we stepped into the vortex, fates entwined. The vortex swallowed us, a storm of colors and noise shredding my senses, memories flooded, Elena's laugh clashing with grief's shadow. Mihai's form blurred ahead, a lifeline in the chaos. Pain stabbed my chest, Elena's loss reborn, raw and searing. The vortex pulsed, reacting. "Soren?" Mihai's voice cut through. "Hold on." A sunlit clearing flashed, Elena alive, calling, "Soren, come play." Her voice pure, pulling me in. "No," I screamed, "you're gone." The vision shattered. I was back in the mist. Mihai's face warped, a mirror of my dread. "You're slipping," he yelled. "Fight it." Reality frayed. The vortex tugged, whispers promising truth. "Find her, Soren!" Seductive, familiar. It preyed on my longing. Mihai grabbed me. "We're not alone. Focus." Shadows loomed. Elena, friends, faces of my failures, their hands clawing at me. "Why are they here?" I gasped. "What do they want?" My voice broke, confusion drowning me in the storm. "They want your choice," Mihai roared. "Face your fears or stay trapped." His desperation pierced me, a call to act. A woman emerged, her face veiled, but I felt her, Elena's echo. "You left me," she whispered, chilling me with her truth. Shock hit. "This is me," I rasped. "My choices led us here." Xiaom, weight crushed, a tapestry of guilt unraveling. Mihai wavered. "We've got to go. It'll take us." The shadows pulsed, hungry, waiting for my answer. "Who are you?" I demanded. She stepped closer, Elena's sorrowful twin. "Choose," she said. "Truth or loss." The mist thickened. I faced Mihai, resolve faltering. "Stay with me," I pleaded. The shadows lunged, a force feeding on our regrets. "Together," I asked. He nodded, uncertain but firm. We braced, diving deeper, ready for whatever truth awaited. We plunged through. The vortex spat us into a sunlit field, silence electric and heavy. I blinked, dazed, warmth clashing with lingering shadows. Mihai panted beside me. "We did it," he murmured, voice shaky, triumph laced with doubt. We'd escaped, but scars lingered. My hands trembled. Elena's echo burned in my chest, our mark of the fight. "Is it over?" I asked, shadows flickering at the edges. He scanned the horizon. Maybe not, he said, but we're stronger now. Sunlight stretched, yet darkness hovered. Patient, hope sparked. I wasn't alone. Not anymore. The field shifted. Trees rose, whispering secrets, chilling my spine. What if they return? I asked. Mihai's face hardened. We'll face them, but we need to know more. A rustle sounded. A woman emerged, green eyes piercing, voice velvet. You've stirred something. The shadows want more. Who are you? I demanded. She smirked, cryptic. I can help. But you must go deeper, face what's beneath. She vanished. Mihai frowned. Threat or ally? I shivered. She knows something, I said. About us, the shadows. The forest loomed. Shadows watched, waiting. She was a riddle, her words a lure to the abyss. Questions spiraled. Elena's weight lingered, stakes rising. I'd faced my past, but new threats brewed, unseen. Mihai's gaze met mine. Whatever's next, together, I vowed, resolve, stealing. Us against the dark, the trees whispered. A call to the unknown. Our fight wasn't done, only shifting, shadows poised to strike. Deeper we went. The air thickened, shadows curling like vines. Her words haunted me. What truths lay buried? A clearing glowed. A mirror stood, rippling like water. Mihai urged, we need to see. My heart raced. Dread and need colliding. I neared. The mirror twisted, showing Elena, joy fading to shadow. It's me, I gasped. My fear fed this. Mihai, I said, it's my darkness. I've got to face it. My voice shook, but resolve hardened. He nodded. You're strong enough. His faith bolstered me, a shield against the past. I touched the mirror. It shattered, light and dark splintering. Clarity hit. My pain had birthed this, but I could reclaim it. The shards fell, weight lifted, freedom dawning. We can change it, I told Mihai, hope flaring. Shadows swirled, fiercer, I felt it, a backlash. Clarity was a blade, cutting both ways. They wouldn't let go easily. Our journey stretched. Redemption, not just survival, lay ahead. The battle deepened, a quest for our souls. That's my tale laid bare. Hope it grabbed you. If it did, smack. Like subscribe, toss a word below. It's raw, this spill, so I'd love knowing it stuck.